Hello viewers, welcome to round number 2 of the AOR V8 Supercars Championship. So we are at Watkins Glen alternative circuit, so we don't have the chicane on the back straight. Now last season this was a fairly strong race for me. This was the opening race of the previous season where I finished 6th. So trying to emulate that would be a decent result. One of my aims is to try and finish in at least the top 7 in every race. I want to try and finish on the podium at least once this season, and one of my other aims was to not stall off the line, and we'll see if that happens in a moment. So in the previous round at Long Beach I managed a very respectable 4th, making the most of I think it was Sam's misjudgments, I guess. He made a couple of mistakes and dropped back a bit, so I've got a 4th at the last round. It would be very good if I could emulate that again here. Not expecting to though, because on sheer pace I am probably at best the 5th best driver, at absolute best. There are 4 drivers who are pretty much comfortably quicker, so a 5th would be very good, but I think anyone fighting for that 5th position can really do well and get that 5th position. It's going to be a very hard battle throughout the season to regularly finish in 5th position or better. So going round into the final section of Watkins Glen here, this is my qualifying lap. I didn't have the best qualifying performance. I set my best lap on my 2nd lap, and then the 3rd lap was dirty, the 4th and 5th just not quite quick enough, a little bit slower than this one. So in practice I did a 1:49.0, which was fairly good, but the best guys were setting low 1:48s, so I was about 3/4 of a second to a second slower than them. But over the line we go for 1:49.5. At the time it was a 2nd, but at the end of the session it was a 7th, which isn't too bad. I could have gone a little bit quicker, but the guy ahead of me was 1:49.3 and 1:49.2 ahead, so I don't think I could have got a lot better there. But here we go at the start of the race. Now at the front of the right hand side, that is Sam having a nice stall off the line. Thankfully I don't stall, but his stall there compromises both the Mercedes there, and that actually gives me the outside line here into 4th position already. So we've gained 3 off the start line. Shadow Demon's on my inside, but I'm going to force around the outside here, and he actually concedes the position there. So I'm into a definite 4th position as it stands, but that will be very close as we go up the back straight here at Watkins Glen. A very fast and long straight, a very good opportunity to stretch the legs of that Mercedes. I think it is quicker than the Volvo in a straight line. I think the Volvo, perhaps one of its main weaknesses is its straight line speed, but on the brakes managing to just to keep ahead of the Mercedes, keeping my 4th position there. So we've got Kerry and Jordan in 1st and 2nd, Urban's Octane in 3rd, a very good 3rd. He's driving the Ford, which is very quick around this circuit. I think that Ford has about 6 or 7 miles an hour advantage at the end of that straight, so you can gain a couple of tenths alone just from that one straight in that car. So it is a very strong car around this track. So through the very tricky toe corner, turn 7 of this track, a very hard corner to get right. I was going through that turn in 2nd gear. You can go through in 3rd to keep more stability, but I was more comfortable in 2nd and keeping a straighter line. So this is going to be a very interesting race from here on in, because I'm in 4th position. We've got Phil, who's a little bit further back than he would be. He's normally one of the top 4 drivers, but he had a very bad qualifying session. I don't think he actually set a clean lap other than his out lap. So he was down near the back of the grid in 18th, I believe. So he'd be coming through at some point, you'd expect. And also Sam there we saw stalling off the line, so he's in the group behind me at the moment. So that's lap 1 done. We're going to move ahead to lap 3, and this is how the first couple of laps went. So you can see up ahead there, I wasn't quite able really to keep with the guys ahead. They were just a little bit quicker than me, and you can see behind it's very, very close, but it is a very hard track to overtake around unless someone makes a mistake. So I knew that if I just kept my nose clean, didn't make any mistakes, then it's going to be very hard for anyone behind me to get past. And that's pretty much the story of this first section of the race. So you can see here making very little amount of errors, and that is a shuffle going back past Urban's Octane there. for second position. So there was a train of about 4 or 5 cars behind me for this first section. Well, I don't think I was holding them up, but they just weren't able to overtake me. I did actually keep up with Urban's Octane for a little bit of time. So this is lap 6, but this is about as close as I ever got during the race. I think he made a fair amount of mistakes to begin with, but once he sorted those out, he did begin to pull away. So this is end of lap 8, going on to lap 9, going to turn 1, T6 Bullet right on my tail. So I'm going to go slide a little bit wide here, and as I look behind, obviously some sort of error has gone on, because all 4 of those drivers are going 4 abreast into turn 2, into the S's. So it's all changed back there. STI Callum's gone into 5th at this moment. Not sure what happened there. I think there was some sort of a misjudgment between T6 Bullet and Sam. Not quite sure though. But here we go into lap 12. This is a 2-lap race. So this was the situation just before my first stop. You see Urban's Octane has pulled away a little bit there ahead. And we've got Phil behind me in 4th. We've gone up a position because Shuffle has pitted early. But once we've all pitted, he will rejoin into his normal second position. So this actually lost me a lot of time. I didn't know that pausing the game in the pit lane slows down your car. So now you can see that Phil is right on my tail. I lost quite a lot of time then. You can see it on the exit of the pit lane. I lost, I reckon, a couple of seconds just because I paused it. I didn't know that pausing the game slows down the car. I think that is very stupid that it does that, especially because it's autopilot effectively in the pit lane. I don't see why pausing it should stop the car, but that's what happens. So that's a lesson for everyone. Don't pause it when you're in the pit lane. It does slow down the car. I lost a couple of seconds because of that, and that can be crucial in these races, especially during the pit stop phase when you're trying to keep ahead of other cars. So Phil is right on my tail here. It doesn't look for a move into turn number 5, but coming through turn 5 to turn 6, he is right on my tail. It's actually fairly off-putting in this chase cam when you can see the front end of the other car poking into the bottom of your screen. It does put you off ever so slightly as you go into the braking zone. So coming into turn 7, the toe of the boot, as we call it, I'll go a little bit too wide, but it's not going to affect me too much because Phil's going to come back past me there, or come past me. I wasn't too bothered about that. I did think that eventually that there's about 23 laps left in this race. He is going to come back past me at some point. He is genuinely quicker. There's not much point in trying to defend and lose time. So this is lap 14. A couple of guys have pitted here, so we're going to take a quick look behind. That is Shadow Demon coming out of the pits. So I think we've gained a couple of 100 feet over him. And here we go, 1 lap later, the start of lap 15. The white car you can see there ahead is Sam, so he's jumped me in the pit lane, and Urban's Octane is ahead of Sam by a couple of seconds there as well. So Urban's Octane staying ahead, Sam getting the jump on me, Phil getting the jump of me just after the pit stops. But I think that my misjudgment in the pit lane by pausing the game lost me a couple of seconds there. Eventually Sam and Phil, I think, would have come back past me anyway, but in the grand scheme of things, you don't want to lose 3 seconds or however many seconds in the pit lane for no reason. That could come back to haunt you later. So I tried my best to keep with Phil and Sam. I was hoping that they could perhaps drag me along in the slipstream towards Urban's Octane, but it wasn't really happening. So we go to the situation at the end of lap 22, and as you can see, Phil in 5th has dropped me up by about 600 feet, as you can see just around that corner there. T6 Bullet in 7th has caught up. He was about 600 or 700 feet behind at the end of the previous stint, or at the start of this stint, sorry. So I decided to pit quite early in this, at the end of this stint, at the end of lap 22, and I'm not going to make the same mistake this time. I'm not going to pause the game and lose even more time. So dropped down to about 14th because I pitted quite early. That's Rapids F1 behind me there. He stuck with me for a few laps after my pit stop there. So we're going to move ahead in just a moment, because the main focus really now is between me and T6 Bullet. It's going to be quite interesting to see exactly where he rejoins, because he pitted 5 laps after I did, So there's quite a big discrepancy in the pit stop times between the two of us. So this is the situation before his pit stop. STI Callum behind me by about 700 feet. Urban's Octane about the same gap but ahead, and T6 Bullet in the pit lane right now. So we're going to see exactly what that gap was. He was about 300 feet behind when I pitted at the end of 22. So coming through turn 1, that is his car there, the Nissan. And he's going to get out slightly ahead, but as he has just come out of the pit lane, he's not going to have the momentum. He's also going to have cold tyres. So coming through the S's, I am still gaining, and he's going to cover the inside as we come through turn 4. So I'm going to go for the outside move with the momentum. We're going to get very, very close to making contact, but I'm just about through back into 6th position. You couldn't have got any closer than that really without losing the position. So pretty much from here on in, I can't see myself gaining on 5th. I think that is pretty much a lost cause unless Urban's Octane makes some serious errors. He's about 800 feet ahead, so it's going to be very hard to gain that kind of gap. That's about 5 seconds I would estimate at this point. You can see him just going into the corner ahead at this moment, so it's going to be very hard to gain on him. So it's pretty much a matter of me trying to keep ahead of T6 Bullet from here to the end of the race. We've got about 8.5 laps left to try and keep him behind, so let's see if we can do that. But on lap 29 I made a little bit of an error here. My girlfriend actually come back home from work at this exact moment, and I wanted to obviously turn around and say hello and everything, but I was kind of in the middle of a big battle. So coming into turn 7, I go a little bit too wide here, make a bit of an error. Wasn't quite concentrating exactly as much as I should. On the exit, me and T6 Bullet make a bit of contact. I knew it was going to be a very close race between us, and I think it will be for the rest of the season in that Nissan against the Volvo that he was in last year. So coming through turn 8 into turn 9, I tried to get the inside line here. I was expecting him to move over a little bit. It was quite a weird move. It looks like I'm just forcing him out of the way. It's quite a strange one because I thought I had at least half a car width alongside, so I thought I had some sort of claim towards the corner. It wasn't the best move though in the end, so I just sort of backed out of it. There wasn't much point in trying to force him out of the way. So we still got 6.5 laps or so left, or about 7 laps left until the end of the race. So there was always a chance I could try and get back towards him. But at this stage here, at the end of lap 30, this incident here sort of put me off. There's a car going into the barrier there just ahead, and it just totally put me off. I had a very bad corner here, and T6 Bullet managed to pull about 50 feet just because of that. Not sure what that guy was doing, but it kind of put me off quite annoyingly. This is the situation on halfway through lap 32. T6 Bullet managing to pull out about 200 or 300 feet. Wasn't quite on the pace, and this is the situation at the end of lap 36, the final lap. Looking behind, Callum actually managed to halve the gap between us. He was about 800 feet or so behind. Actually, he's more than half the gap. Him and Shadow Demon reeling me in quite quickly actually at this final stage of the race, but I knew I just about had enough of a gap. T6 Bullet doing just enough to stay ahead. Wasn't quite able to keep up with him in the end. I think had I not made that mistake on lap 29, I think I could have kept him behind. But unfortunately I did make that one mistake. Pretty much the only mistake I made in the race that cost me anything, apart from perhaps the pit lane, pausing it in the pit lane, and that did cost me a couple of seconds. And you know, if I had been a couple of seconds up the road, maybe you wouldn't have caught me. But you know, you got to learn from these lessons. I won't pause in the pit lane anymore. So crossing the line in 7th, not a bad result. It keeps alive my hope of not finishing any lower than my qualifying position. So I qualified 7th, and I'm not finishing any lower than 7th in the race. Trying to finish at least 7th in every race of the season as well. So I keep alive that target. It didn't stall at the start either. So not a bad result in the end. I don't think I had the ultimate pace. As you can see there, 1:49.3. Finishing ahead of a couple of guys who were quicker. Shadow Demon and STI Callum were actually quicker than me. Urban's Octane doing a 1:49.2 best lap. Doing very well to finish 5th there. Sam and Phil eventually coming back through the pack to finish in their normal positions in the top 4. So in the end, not too bad a race. I was a little bit disappointed not to keep 6th at the end of the race there, but I think 7th is still a very decent result. It was quite a good performance apart from that one mistake. So that's going to be the end for me. Let me know your thoughts on the race, what you thought of it, and subscribe if you want to see more of the same. These races will be coming out every Friday. Hit the like button if you did like this video, and I hope to see you next week. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.